Greetings collectors and welcome to this playthrough of Weird Dreams for the Commodore Amiga. Some of you may have noticed that I have already uploaded a quite detailed review for the Christmas special this year. However, I also wanted a more casual look at this game, so that's what I'm doing today. I'll be playing through the whole game start to finish, and hopefully you'll enjoy the casual commentary. I'd just like to qualify before you get too excited, this is not a speed run, it's not a world record, this is just me playing through the whole game as I see it. Having said that, I do consider myself fairly good at this one, so you are in safe hands. So without further ado, straight into it. Absolutely beautiful graphics for the opening loading screen. It features the brain eye creature from the end and the totem creatures from the desert level. Of course, this loading screen is all in effort to give you something to look at while we wait for the copy protection to come up here. So all you have to do when this screen comes up is go to your novella, find the correct word on the correct page in the correct paragraph, type it in, and we're away. After a little bit of loading, yeah, here we are with the main title screen. Not too much to write home about here graphically, but David Whittaker's soundtrack is absolutely stunning. So you're going to be playing as a character known as Steve. In the novella it's very clear that he's had a bit of a misfortune at the dentist. As such he's had to be taken to the hospital, and even further to that he needs to go under anaesthetic, and this takes him into a somewhat dreamlike / nightmare world that he needs to fight his way out of. So under we go, and we find ourselves in a very mysterious candy floss machine. So I would say it's fairly obvious what has to be done here. The only things that are really happening is a bit of candy floss flying around and it will stick to you. There are positions here where it will stick to you a little bit easier. I tend to bend down, get 2 at the start and then go over to the other side of the screen. But if you're speedrunning this, there are much better kind of hot spots you can use here. Now this can be a bit frustrating, this level, because if you leave it too long, the candy floss will fall off you, so you just have to kind of start again. Now what is important here is that you pick up 5 pieces of candy floss. So if you don't pick up 5, you won't increase your percentage score. There's nothing to stop you actually going on to the next screen, but if you want that 100% completion, you do need all 5 pieces. If you do just simply want to complete the game, the bare minimum you need are just 2 pieces. Time your jump well and hop onto the stick, and this will take us out into the fairground. Now here there is this rather intimidating wasp creature, and yes, it's rather iconic for this game and it can cause some awful deaths. But we're not going to let that happen today, so we're going to appease the wasp by simply putting down a piece of candy floss. This one, again, this is where things can get a bit tricky. I tend to put a piece of candy floss down straight away, just to stall for time, then pile everything else I have in a little pile here. Now you're going to want to go to the end of that screen and get this net. Now hopefully you've bought yourself enough time for the wasp still to be eating the candy floss. The aim here is actually very simple. We need to give the wasp enough time to put the orb on the floor and then try and knock him off of the screen. Now don't worry if you don't get this on the first attempt, this can be quite tricky with the timing and he doesn't always go as far as you'd want. So you have to give him a bit of a nudge and then maybe even a secondary nudge. So I actually make a bit of a hash of this. What I've done here is I've put the net down, and what I expected to happen is I would be able to pick up the orb straight away and then complete this. So the easy way here is to actually be facing left and then get that ball and run like hell. So now you find yourself in the Hall of Mirrors, which is kind of the level select screen. I'm going to go into the right mirror, which is of course the flower garden. Now this screen I'd say is probably one of the easier screens in the game. All you have to do is defeat the roses, or are they tulips? I'm assuming they're probably roses, with teeth. I find the stabbing motion actually gets most of these straight away, but it won't get all of them. So inch your way forward and it's the uppercut that's going to really do a lot of damage to those. No tricks here really, bit of a stab and then uppercut when you can to finish them off. So, with a bit of effort, that's all done and dusted, and on to the next screen. And of course you find this little girl to play with, and she has a nice football. Again, the flower garden is quite a nice level to start on because there's nothing here that's too inherently difficult. There's no pattern learning, and the timing is moderate to complete this, but generally you shouldn't have too many problems. The girl, which is actually Emily from the novella, who's possessed by a demon, will simply bounce the football back and forth to you. Now just play along with her for a while. So each time the ball goes back to her, she adds another part of her sequence, slowly revealing that she does in fact have a rather large knife. So just keep playing this, so there's 5 or 6 rounds until her animation is fully complete, and then she'll slowly start walking towards you with the knife. Quite intimidating, I'd say. So wait until she gets what used to be known in the old days of Mortal Kombat about scorpion distance, and then you can lift the ball straight over her. What's nice here is you actually get the ball as an extra bonus. You can then simply exit via the arrow. So as you can see here from back in the Hall of Mirrors, we've actually unlocked another mirror, this kind of second one on the right. Now this leads to what I always call the music room. It's actually referred to as the toy room in the coding. And in here things get slightly nasty. So this first screen, all you have to do is walk across the keys, and that is it. So for the most part you can just hit right, but stop every time you see a key. You're not going to have too many problems here, but you'll see later on the second rendition of this can get quite tricky. So onward and onto the ballerina screen. Now this one is actually very simple. All you have to do is walk by her when her leg is moving up and down, basically when she's not spinning. And that is it. Now things get quite tricky on this second screen here with Mr. Teeth. So the keyboard is a little faster, the music is more frantic, and there's a much higher chance you're going to die on this. All I would say is take it slow. If you see a key, stop instantly, make your way across at a nice pace. Once you get into that kind of last kind of inch of the screen, you're pretty much safe, so just finish it off when you can. Next up we come to the room with the electric eel. Again, there's really nothing you can do in here apart from reach out and pick the eel up. Now just look at the pattern, it's going to electrocute itself a couple of times, but then pick it out when it's not showing any lights. And this leads on to one of the more exciting parts of the game. Now the wasp, he's not happy, he wants his orb back. So what we're going to do is just simply use the electric eel, and we're going to go Bob Ross on him and beat the devil out of him. And this is going to take probably about 6 or 7 jabs. I like to do that just to be sure. But the important thing is here that you end on an uppercut. It's the only way to actually kill him. I throw in a couple of extra moves just for fun. And with that, the wasp is downed, and that's quite a satisfying moment because it takes us over the 50% mark of the game, and we've only been playing for around 6 minutes. So next up we go into the left mirror, which is the desert dream. So what I'm trying to do here is pick up a fish. I'm making this look much harder than it is. All you have to do is jump up and press fire. The important thing is to time your pressing fire when you cross a fishtail. And you get these kind of totem sand monsters up next. Basically just hit him and move on to the next screen. So here we go, a second screen of these guys now. So I like to lead with a jab, it usually works, but the hitbox detection is pretty awful on these things, so you will end up using other methods of attack as well. Again, try lead with the jab, you might get lucky, you may not, and then just uppercutting seems to be the second best way of doing this, and then just clear the screen when you can. Of course you've got to get your value for money out of these sprites, so let's have another screen of them. This time they are much faster and much more aggressive, and you have to be the same. Go in hard on them, try and kill them as quickly as can, and try and gain that ground. I would say when you get near the edge of the screen, just be careful not to get trapped by a rogue one that comes in at the last second. It's quite a frustration. So then we move on to the first of the big heads. Now these are very intimidating but actually very easy. The first one you can simply jab 5 times and he goes down. I absolutely love the animation on this. Now big head number 2, technically you can uppercut 5 times, starting with the upward strike hitting him first. I like to throw in a couple of jabs first though. So next up we come to the statue. Again, very simple in execution. What you have to do, you have to bash the statue to release one of the orbs. The only thing really in your way is this awful whirlpool that is always trying to swallow you. Now I'm riding my luck here a bit by getting a little too close, but just about within the safe zone. You will have to walk back and forth a bit. You can actually jump over the whirlpool if you want, but really just bide your time and then attack whenever you feel you can. So with a bit of attacking, there we are, we've released the orb. Now don't actually exit the screen here, you are going to need to go down that whirlpool and onto the next screen. So here we are on a single level screen. Now this is known as the swamp. You'll try and walk to the right of course, but you'll get stuck. Now you'll notice that the ball is jumping up and down to try and get your attention. If you just hit the help key on the Amiga, it will come and clear a path. Again, if you were speedrunning, you just walk across behind it, but actually I'm going to wait and just look at this animation and just enjoy that. Okay, so next we can actually now enter the final mirror, which takes us to a level known as the Haunted House. So basically 2 components of this one. Firstly is going to be trying to get the lights on, and the second part is going to be, well, avoiding a quite horrible monster, I must say. So take your time, head left and duck whenever you see some of the low-flying bats. Eventually you end up at this screen, which there's a light saying press. Again, pretty obvious what you'd have to do, I'd say. Once all the letters are illuminated, jump up and press fire. Then it's back down the corridor the way you came, jumping over the bats as you please, and this will take you onto a rather iconic screen from the game. So, this is the chicken monster, or possibly a turkey. I think the jury is out on this one still. So, the actual solution is very simple, because you don't have a lot to go on. The only real thing you can do is jump on these lampshades. And it's good old-fashioned platforming, I'd say, from here. What you have to do is build up your swing, and when you feel it possible, let go at the right time, and you'll jump onto the light shade above him. Again, you're going to have to repeat this process, but you do keep a bit of momentum from your first swingings. So, here we go. Bit of a jump and we're down. Now this is perhaps one of the most mysterious screens of the game, as it has no function, simply 3 lampshades. No bad guys, no real death, so perhaps just filler for the game. So this is almost the final screen, and it's an interesting one. You're not really presented much other than a clock and 2 doors. Simply open the clock and you get the last orb. All very easy. So to exit this room you will need to use one of the 2 doors, and it doesn't actually matter which one. So the thing you have to do here is time your exit with the pendulum. Basically, the door that is safe is the one that the pendulum is pointing at. You're going to need some very precise timing, this is why I'm waiting around a bit, but as soon as that pendulum hits one side or the other, the one that it's pointing at, go out of that door to freedom. Now, this may go wrong a few times, and it's probably one of the trickier elements of the game. But that does take us onto the last screen of the game, and this one is also not that bad. You're unlikely to die on this screen, but you are probably going to get a bit frustrated. All you have to do is make sure that the eye of the brain is open, and then hit the smaller brains around it, and this will release those orbs. Again, we're kind of under the 12-minute mark here, so that's not a bad time actually for a casual run. Those orbs get absorbed, and away we go. So once those orbs are absorbed by the brain, it's pretty clear that Steve's going to come out of his anaesthetic dream. And this provides us with a rather harrowing ending. Well, I hope you enjoyed this playthrough and commentary. I really enjoyed putting this one together, and I really enjoyed putting the larger review episode together as well, so I really would urge you to watch that one if you haven't already. So you may be able to tell, but Weird Dreams is a game that I have played many times, really love it, definitely worth your time getting involved in. And that's your lot for today. So hopefully you enjoyed that walkthrough, I know I did, and I will see you back at the channel for a more regular episode next time round. Until next time, happy gaming.